Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. This week we have a special guest joining us, Miss Rachel Greenberg of Life Unlimited LLC, who'll be joining us to talk about all things friendships, relationships within the neurodiverse community. But before we get to that, join us Monday, October 23rd for the first annual Drive for Autism charity golf tournament hosted by Autism Ally Group. Your participation will help raise funds for developmentally disabled individuals in need of adaptive technology, food security, and other supports for the quality of life they deserve. Join as a sponsor while opportunities last, register a foursome, or do both today by scanning the QR code, texting AAG Drive to 26989, or simply visiting www.autismallyGroup.org. Autism Ally Group, improving lives, advancing inclusion. If you like what we're all about, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell icon so you don't miss anything new. And join us every month for our peer mentoring group where we join together with other parents, caretakers, and individuals to kind of get together in community and solidarity with one another and help each other on how to get through things, sharing insights and expertise. We also often have special guests come to share their expertise and their resources at no cost to the community. So we invite you to join at the link in description. It'll also mean the absolute world to have your support as a donor to help us keep the lights on and keep our programs running for our neurodivergent communities. AutismAllyGroup.org/donate. Link in description. And now with all that said, let's head over to the interview. All right, so we're joined here with Miss Rachel Greenberg. She is a life coach, right? Is it?
Tutor and guide.
Tutor and guide. 15 plus years of experience servicing the neurodiverse community in the Maryland Central Atlantic region is what you primarily...
Maryland, Virginia, and DC, yes.
Gotcha. Okay. And so, Rachel, give us some backdrop. Give us some history. Tell us about who you are, what you do, and why you do it.
It kind of fell into my lap when I was 12. I would go into the special ed classrooms in middle school. You know, people can be mean in middle school. And I just went in there one day and I was like, wow, these folks are so nice and they're funny and they want to be around me. And from 6th grade to 12th grade, if anyone wanted to know where Rachel Greenberg was in the morning, it was in one of the special ed classrooms. So I decided to then pursue, you know, camp counseling, respite, ABA, and then got my master's in special ed and realized that the classroom wasn't for me. So I did 6 years helping adults with disabilities find and maintain employment and realized I really enjoy focusing more on the social, interpersonal relationship aspect with people with disabilities. So I started my company, Life Unlimited Unleash Your Potential, a few months ago, and it's been great.
I don't know if you're aware of a show that came out in Australia. It's called Love on the Spectrum.
Yes, that was my that was like what guided me to do this.
Gotcha. Now, you know, of course, as with anything new in the social light, you know, you have people who, you know, approve of it, people who don't. But the fact remains that demand for individuals like yourself has skyrocketed. Yeah. And what's super interesting is that not only has demand for this kind of service for neurodivergent individuals has skyrocketed, we're actually seeing an uptick in demand for these sort of services for neurotypical individuals who are younger, like millennials, especially Gen Z, where they're shelling out cash hand over fist to join into clubs and things like that in an effort to make friends. So we're living in a very different world where being exposed to social settings where you can make meaningful friends has never been more difficult, obviously, very difficult post-pandemic, right? Yes. I'd like to learn more about your approach, right? Because everyone has a different approach, and I want to know what's your approach to counseling autistic or other neurodivergent individuals and sharpening their social skills specifically?
So I do a very easy role-playing game approach. It is customized on the individual's needs, but for the social skills tutoring, I always cover initiating and maintaining conversation, knowing the difference between a friendly face, an acquaintance, and a friend, making and keeping friends, appropriate topics for discussion, how to utilize small talk, how to be part of a group discussion, and how to leave a conversation gracefully. And then for dating and relationship guidance, I help the individuals manifest what kind of relationship they're looking for, whether it be plain companionship or a romantic relationship. We then figure out how they want to meet the people, whether it be in person, and I help them find those avenues, or online, and I help them with their profiles. From there, I help them with the concept of flirting, appropriate text messaging, how to ask someone on a date, how to plan a date, what to talk about on a date, what to do when the check comes, what happens if, unfortunately, the person you went out with didn't like you and rejected you. How do you process those feelings? Or even in reverse, what if you don't want to see the person again? So counseling them through the whole process so it's not as overwhelming.
Well, so you actually preempted another question of mine with respect to dating, because that is another aspect. It's super interesting because these days it feels like this is a lost art,
I
and
know.
that people are so heavily influenced by social media that a lot of younger generations have this kind of differing worldview on what the actual world is. So one thing I
Yeah.
always push on my other channels is that the internet is not real life,
No.
and what you see on the internet is not what you're going to get with real people. So if you ask a girl on a date, she's not going to whip out a tape measure to see how tall you are. She's not
Exactly.
going to ask you to show her your bank account. That's just
Yeah.
not real. And I feel like a lot of people have, interestingly, lost that art in approaching another person that you may like and how to interact with them and maybe win a date. And don't get me wrong, it is ultra nerve-wracking
Yes, it is.
because no one wants to feel rejection. So now imagine that in an individual who already struggles with general social skills,
Mm-hmm.
like the kind of anxiety and stress that comes with that. And when I read that on your website, that that is a service that you offer, I was completely blown away because it's so easy, whether you're a parent or you're an advocate, to be hyper focused on
Mm-hmm.
generating life skills so you can navigate the world around you for
Yeah.
a better quality of life. But it's interesting how it's not even in the mind for a lot of folks
Yeah.
that having a relationship is a big part of that, having that
Huge.
long-term
Huge.
companionship. And I'm super excited that that's a thing that people do offer, especially after learning the demand for it.
Yeah.
It is
It's
like,
out there.
yeah, it's huge. Give me your mindset on traditional ABA therapy.
I don't have enough experience with it to have an opinion. The only thing I can say is that if it works for you, great. If it doesn't, I hope you find something that does work. I think that nothing really should be judged if it works for some people and doesn't work for others.
So I guess the reason I ask is because, so when I learn about services that you offer, I can't help but think of traditional ABA therapy. And so what can you say to those who would ask, what is the difference between what you offer and traditional ABA therapy?
I would say that what I do is repetitive conversation. It could be me. It's almost like me across, from a table from someone, practicing conversing with X at X place, and then routinely going over it over and over again to master that skill.
ABA therapy can be for children and can be for adults as well. And when I first learned about it, there's kind of ABA kind of has a mixed public opinion towards
Mm-hmm.
it, where you have people, especially parents. So our organization, we're part of a lot of like parental groups on places like Facebook and such. And whenever that topic comes up, because it seems like daily it comes up, where you have a new parent
Yeah,
who says, hey, what do we think about ABA therapy? And it's a somewhat mixed bag, where you have the
I see that as
majority
well. Yeah.
of parents who by and large approve of ABA therapy. They swear by it. And I've personally witnessed individuals see tremendous improvement in their social skills, ability to interact with people, at least on a basic level,
Mm-hmm.
through ABA therapy. Interestingly, though, I've witnessed people who are opposed to ABA therapy saying that it can be a very traumatic experience. And even more interestingly is that the people I've seen who have that response tend to be people who are autistic. And so
Yes.
what are your thoughts on that?
I think they have every right to feel that way. If, you know, if they don't want a service, whether it's something that isn't helpful or offensive, I think it's okay for them to say, I don't want it for myself. But I think it's okay for other people to give it a try. I think not everything is for everyone. But yeah, I think everyone should be given the opportunity to try something. And if it works, awesome. If not, hopefully there's something out there that works better. Um, I definitely don't have a strong feeling towards it at this point.
I think it also depends on how people approach it. So if I'm a parent, or if you're a parent and you're going to ABA therapy with the intent to fix a
Oh,
child
of
or
course. Yeah.
correct a child, then I think it's very likely that outcomes will be negative, because we got to keep it real. We still live in a world where there are people who fundamentally believe that autism and things like that are things that need to be cured, that kind of view it as not concepts to be understood, but things to be corrected and fixed.
Mhm.
Whereas I'm generally of the mind that these are things to be understood with the intent to furnish a better quality of life for the individual so they can navigate this world around them and have a decent life, especially as a parent. Tell me some of like your success stories, things that you're proud of.
I'm proud when I can have someone with severe confidence issues list out things that they like about themselves. I'm proud when someone who in the beginning didn't know how to ask a follow-up question in a conversation can now engage and continue a conversation on topic. I'm proud when someone, you know, smiles because they were able to stay on topic. You know, the success stories are seeing the small spurts of growth so that the individuals I work with can build relationships and connect with other people.
What are areas that you find yourself needing to focus on the most generally across all the folks that you take care of?
Small talk.
Small talk.
Yes, I have come up with a system to use small talk for people who freeze up during conversation so that when there is a silence, they know to ask a question. We come up with small talk topics and we practice using those small talk topics and figuring out when when the conversation is over, how to end it. So it starts with the introduction, the specific question, which I tell people is either having to do with where they are or what they're doing. So if you're at a restaurant, you could say, have you ever been to this restaurant before? Or what do you like getting here? You then go on into interests and hobbies and follow-up questions to the interests and hobbies, and then small talk, which I generally talk about entertainment, which means, video games, movies, music, TV shows, family, the person's week or weekend, work, school, weather, and travel. And then when we practice it enough times in fake situations, like, hey, we're at a cafe and, you meet your friend's friend. How do we use the model here? Enough times that they get used to it and become more confident in conversing.
So I know that when you're helping clients like this, I imagine there's a lot of instances where you have parents involved, maybe caretakers involved. What are some ways that, say I'm a parent or a friend or a sibling or a caretaker, that has my loved one or client, undergoing
Mhm.
therapy with you.
So it's not therapy because I'm not a
I'm sorry,
therapist.
I'm trying to think of the right word. Undergoing sessions with you,
Yes, there
right?
you go.
Uh, what are some ways that, let's say, I, as maybe a parent or a family member, can kind of support and reinforce? Um,
Oh, oh, absolutely. By using the skills at home, you
okay.
know, by doing the role play at home. Okay. We are going to a party and you go up to me, who I'm your mom, but at the party, I'm Valerie. And you need to meet Valerie and converse with Valerie. And let's use this model with Valerie. So not only are they doing it with me, but they're doing it at home and they're doing it at school, and they're improving their conversation skills.
So what you're saying is be involved. It's
Absolutely.
really important. Don't just leave it to the specialist. Be involved, be interested, be
Absolutely.
intrigued, get in there and reinforce those concepts, those skills. Because, at least in language, there's a saying that if you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah.
Right. And so you want to keep up on those things. And that's a
Hmm.
great way to add to the success.
It's retaining the skills. Um, I lived in Israel for a year, and I learned a lot of Hebrew, and I know nothing now because I didn't practice it. So someone can practice these skills with me, and yes, it will help them, but it will ultra help them if they're practiced in other environments.
Same concept goes with Spanish. So I actually run another Spanish YouTube channel, and I haven't produced for that. I mean, I was growing it pretty well. I got up to 20,000 subs, but it just kind of fell on the wayside. And then next thing you know, a week turned into a month turned into a year. And now I haven't produced at all for it because my
Yeah.
Spanish has gotten so rusty. And my people can be pretty judgy about Spanish. So I just been too chicken to go back. So I want to talk about your job prep because we actually have an employment readiness program.
Excellent.
And we fully intend to point to you as a resource for folks
Fabulous.
looking for job prep. Now, today, everyone, I feel like all people of all walks of life, of all neurodiversities, struggle with interview prep. What are some methods or approach, or what is your approach to preparing people for interviews?
Oh, absolutely. Repetition, 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 asking the most common questions that interviewers ask. And with the repetition, they become more confident because they start to master answering the questions.
So you do like mock interviews
Oh,
with
absolutely.
them?
Yes.
Gotcha. Because
We
it's
even discuss, okay, you walk into the door and you see the person interviewing you. What do you do? Oh, I say hi. Okay, what else do you do? Um, I shake their hand and say, "Hi, my name is blank. It's nice to meet you." Awesome. Okay, so what do you do next? I sit down and go through all the steps and put in a bunch of different questions that could come up because you never know. And the process isn't perfect because everyone interviews differently in person, and also, no interviewer asks the same exact questions as others. So they will be thrown questions that I didn't prepare them for, but at least I can give them the ones that are most common.
absolutely right. I feel like there are some core questions that employers will ask, like one being, what can you tell me about my company? Right? What can you
Yes.
tell me about, what do you know about said company? And they, may ask other things like, how do you feel about working under pressure? How do you feel about
Mm-hmm.
working with a team? And it's
That's
all
one of
big,
them I use. Yeah.
sure. And it's all because they want to know that, you know, you can work well with others, that you can adhere to deadlines and the such. Um, and then there's also, questions that we can always ask employers, like, how do you generate revenue? It's kind of a mistake to always believe that a given employer will always have work for you. And so it's kind of thought provoking and oftentimes impressive. You ask things like that. I think that it's amazing that we have services like yours that can help people who are autistic or have other neurodiversities to find meaningful work, and demand for individuals like this, inclusivity for
Exactly.
individuals like this is at an all-time high. I just did a story about this car wash chain in Florida where they almost exclusively hire people who are
Hmm.
neurodivergent, and with the express intent to build their social skills, build their worker skills so they can move on to bigger and better things. So that's great to hear, and I look forward to hearing all the success stories from people we point to you.
Thank
So
you.
yeah, so what advice can you give to that parent or family who, for one reason or another, for whatever reason, doesn't have access to services like yours? Because I understand that you're not covered through any waiver or DDA programs. Is that
Mhm.
correct?
So I currently can be put in the budget under self-direction for Maryland
Okay.
in the individual family goods and service. So that could be covered, but not in just plain DDA. For parents who are wondering how it can become accessible, I tell them that some is better than nothing. So I do have clients that I see weekly, and that's what I recommend, but some I see biweekly as well.
Gotcha. And I guess my broader question was, what advice can you give to folks who can't access these sort of things for whatever
Okay.
reason, like that, be it monetary, be it geographic,
Yeah.
what kind of advice can you give to those parents who are kind of like stuck in a donut hole, kind of
Yeah.
a deficit of availability or access to those kind of resources?
Yeah. I would say advocate with your child's school to work with the child on certain skills for social skills. Bring in a list of 5 broad questions that could be used in a conversation for the person to work on and do at school so they can use it at home and in the community as well. See if there's any, like teen adult activities where the person could go and participate. There's a local organization near me, and they have Jewish Shabbat dinners, and I've gone, and there are quite a few people who are neurodivergent, and they go there, and they are not counted out, they are not looked at differently, and this gives them the opportunity to socialize and expand their friend circle as well.
Yeah,
So it's
that's
about seeing what's out there.
sure. And this is an excellent response. I love also how you mentioned advocacy, because advocacy is the biggest, most powerful thing that we can do as allies, as parents, caretakers, to expand inclusion for this
Yep.
community. We have places like Colorado where, because advocacy kind of falls on the wayside, because this community is not front and center, we have closures, all these big closures of, like, DDA services and autism waiver services.
Scary. Yeah.
And it's because local government just falls down the
Yeah.
line of priority, and they don't fund it. And then we have all these closures, and next thing you know, we have this uptick of individuals being abandoned in hospitals because parents reach their breaking point and such. And when it comes to building these sorts of things, advocacy as a parent is really powerful,
It's
especially in the school
essential.
system. Yeah, because you have places like Cedar Lane School, who is is a school of just neurodivergent children who go to learn, individuals with Down syndrome, CP, autism, and all the such. And they have a very, very vocal, strong PTA, very involved parents. And because of that, that school receives good funding for adaptive equipment. They
Yeah.
have a pool, so they have a much, much better experience. And students from as far as Bethesda, they go down to Cedar Lane School out in Fulton, Maryland, so they can be a part of that. And that's
Yeah.
because of advocacy and spreading awareness and fighting for acceptance and inclusion. And so that's a great answer. And so my last question is, the more I learn about services like yours, the more I think about where popular culture is now, right? Where
Okay.
younger generations are now. I'm talking about millennial, Gen Z, and ultimately Gen Alpha. And I want to know, would you consider expanding your services to neurotypical individuals?
Oh, I already
If
do.
the
Yeah.
You already
Yeah.
do. Okay.
Yeah. I have quite a few people who got in contact with me and said, I don't have a disability, but I'd like to improve my conversational skills. I find that, sometimes during social events, I'll freeze up and not know what to say. So I think everyone could use it because we're in the time of where our social skills are declining because of technology. So anyone can come to me. You don't have to have a disability, and we can work through it and make you more confident and have a higher self-esteem and get ready to get out there to approach people that doesn't involve your phone or your computer.
Sure. It's growing more and more to be a lost art, and
Yes.
just going and talking to people and connecting with people, and just making friends, or goodness, asking a girl on a date. Like,
Exactly.
my whole life, it was always a scary thing. And listen, I'm 5'4". I am broke, right? But it never stopped me from trying, you know, and
Exactly.
I've been shot down, and, you know, I've landed dates, and now I'm happily married, you know, and I caught a beautiful woman, you know, and listen, charm goes a long way. And just sometimes
Yeah.
talking, just talk, you
Yeah.
know, and don't be afraid.
I tell all of my clients, this is what I believe in life. The worst thing in life is not being rejected, but not taking a chance and seeing if it could have worked out.
Absolutely. Very, very sage of you. All right. So, Rachel, tell everybody where they can find you, and like your
Yes.
socials, website, how they can reach you.
Yes. So my website is www.lifeunlimitedllc.com. My email is lifeunlimited728@gmail.com. My phone number is 301-641-6293. And on Facebook, you can find my business page of Life Unlimited Unleash Your Potential LLC.
Rachel Greenberg with Life Unlimited LLC. Rachel, thank you so much for being generous with your time, and we hope to have
Thank
you back.
you. Yes,
All right.
thanks so much.
Thank you. You take care now. And that's going to do it for this week's episode, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss anything new. Join us for our next peer mentoring group at link in description. Become a monthly supporter at autismallyGroup.org/donate. And as always, thanks for watching.
I'll be there when you need me. You can count on it.